Tonight we begin our series of interviews with candidates in the primary election on September 8th. We'd like to welcome one of the Democratic candidates for Register of Deeds in Suffolk County, Paul Nutting. Thank you very much for being with us, Paul.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
In decades, I think this is the first time I've done a Register of Deeds interview, and for viewers, they say, what does this person do?
Essentially, the office is charged with managing all the land records and property transactions for the county.
And for running this office well, what are the main concerns? Obviously, you want to have things done accurately. You want to be able to find them if you have to look something up. But other than that, what's involved?
Well, as you said, things should be accurate. Records management is a science in and of itself, and for the past 20 years I've been managing land records at the State Mapping Agency. So I feel that I'm well qualified to manage the records for people's most important investment, which is their home. My big idea is to bring some advanced technology to the office. Right now you can look up deeds on the website. However, the website is pretty antiquated as far as the technology, and it's inaccessible to handicapped people. It's also non-performant. If you try to shrink the window a little bit, everything gets cut off. So that's just the website. But my big idea is to start with the assessor parcel maps and then create an interactive online viewer using those maps. And when you zoom to a parcel and click on it, you would get a pop-up that would have a link to the assessing record, a link to the current deed record, as well as link to building permit records. That way it would be a one-stop shop for all public property records in the county.
Now, it sounds so wonderful. It must cost a bit of money to do all that. Especially when you talk about building permits too. I mean, as a journalist, I'd like that, but
right.
But you know, who's going to pay for that?
Well, it starts with the municipalities. There are 3 cities and 1 town in Suffolk County, Boston being the largest, and then we have Chelsea, Winthrop, and Revere. It would start with the municipalities and building APIs, application program interfaces, so that this data can stream over the web. Right now, the city of Boston has one for their assessor parcel data. They also have one using Socrata technology for building permits. Now, if we can get the other 3 municipalities in on that, then at some point they could all link together in this online map. Ways to pay for it. There are several grants that the states offer. One is municipal IT grants, and that would help with the individual municipalities to get them up to speed on the APIs. And then the other is a regionalization grant. Those are given to groups of municipalities that want to start a new initiative on best practices. And as far as I'm concerned, this would be a best practice that could then be a model for other registries to use.
We're talking with Paul Nutting, candidate for Register of Deeds in Suffolk County. Paul, talk about your background managing records already, because you don't just manage paper, you manage people. What was that like?
Well, as I said, I work at the State Mapping Agency. Is that what you wanted to talk about?
Yes,
or did you want to
yes, talk about that.
Well, the State Mapping Agency, in its infancy, started around the Watershed Protection Act out around the Quabbin Reservoir. And rather than having to filter the water, they decided, let's try to protect the watershed. So what they started doing was mapping all the properties that were in the watershed and figure out who owns it, and try to sewer all of the community, all of the properties. And it's come a long way. At the State Mapping Agency, we have created an assessor parcel standard. So statewide, all of the municipalities are adhering to this standard, and that has allowed us to create a statewide interactive online map of assessor parcels. You can type any address across the state, zoom to the parcel, click on it, and get the assessing record.
You know, we have been without a real Register of Deeds now for 6 or 7 months at least, and not many of us have noticed much difference. Does it make much difference?
Well, the office has been managed by the assistant registrar thus far. That's why I think that bringing someone in who has a technology background, there's never been someone like that in the office. You know, there's been attorneys and clerks, etc. But as far as upgrading the technology, I think that if we could bring someone in who has the technology background that I have, it would make the records much more transparent and easily accessed by the residents of the county.
One background you don't have, unlike some of the other candidates, is having run for public office before. Was this a real leap for you to do this?
Absolutely, Chris. As you well know, I've been active in the community for many, many years. Throughout Suffolk County. I'm a Metropolitan Beaches Commissioner, so I have experience with people in East Boston, Winthrop, and Revere. As you know, I work on the Neponset River Greenway Council, so I've worked with people from Dorchester, Mattapan, and Hyde Park. And I've also worked on many successful Democratic campaigns. When I heard that this office was open, I said, you know, this is the only office that I've ever wanted to run for, given the fact that most of my volunteer activities have really revolved around land, and the fact that I have the 20 years of land record management experience. So it was quite a leap. It's been quite a learning process, and it's been an enjoyable process meeting people from all over the county who want good government.
Talk about how this would make a difference to, I guess, a routine matter for, you know, somebody who owns property. Maybe someday they want to sell it and they want to make sure they have the deed, and they can't find which drawer it's in. They need to go to you to get a copy.
Right. Well, there's a chain of custody of the deeds, and that at this point can be researched online, but only back to 1975. It would be great if we could digitize these records going back even further. I've talked to people who do historical research, and they would like to see those records go back a lot further.
Right. Well, thank you very much for being with us.
Great.
Paul Nutting, Democratic candidate for Register of Deeds in Suffolk County, and the primary election is on September 8th. We'll have more news in just a moment.